So the resetting of the global economic order is happening today, and it's happening on blockchain. It's exploding now. There's more people opening digital wallets around the world than when people adopted the internet. The internet gave people connection. This next wave of development gives people freedom and economic empowerment. The disruption is happening today for those who want to keep it the way it's been for 100 years. Control the gold, control the people, control the economic roadmap. If I put it in simple terms, at the moment, Jersey and the United Kingdom are fighting an economy with bow and arrows, when America have got guns. Mervyn King, the Bank of England governor in 1999, said he could see a day when the central banks would no longer be needed to settle global trade. Guess what? That's what's happening now, today.
My guest today is Birkett, the founder of Moneybrain. We are about to explore the basics of crypto, tokenization and blockchain, and how will this influence our lives. I don't know too much about this world, but my guest today, he definitely has a lot better insight, so let's jump into it. And no, this is not a financial advice. Make sure that you do your due diligence before thinking about investing in this area. Lee, you started Moneybrain in 2000. So do you see yourself as an innovator or maybe as a visionary in this space?
I'd class myself as a builder. Cleverer people than I have come up with the technology. I just find a way to bring it to market. So innovator, maybe in the concept of delivery, but certainly not the technologist. I'm just seeing opportunity and capitalize it and see what good it can do.
Yeah, but this is what entrepreneurs do, right? You don't necessarily have the skills, but you see the gap in the market and you form the team. You form a team that, is capable of delivering the outcome, and you take it from there. You lead the team properly and hopefully it gets good results, right? Isn't that how it works?
Yeah, you can't get good results without a team. And I'm being fortunate enough to have the same team for now on 25 years. So we're in a very lucky position at Moneybrain in that we've come through this technical revolution together, seeing the highs and the lows, and we see this next phase as probably the third industrial revolution.
Yeah, do you think this is bigger than when the internet was invented? Is it matching that?
It's exceeding that.
Yeah.
Because it's impacting people in a more positive way. It's akin to the internet. The internet gave people connection. This next wave of development gives people freedom and economic empowerment.
Yeah. The reason why I started this way is because after seeing your recent article on LinkedIn, you were talking about being the only one in the UK keeping the flag up basically in this space, blockchain, tokenization, crypto exchange basically. And how does it feel, because usually you have like, the way I say it, most places, that's why I see you as an innovator. Most spaces and most industries, they have people, from the same area that, serve the same industry and are based in the UK or are based in Jersey. But you are the only one. How does it work? Why is this actually?
Probably because I'm stupid, I'm stubborn, and I won't be defeated. I think the term "never give up" is something I'll use quite often, and many people have given up because we've had a fight. This has been a fight of monumental proportions to keep going. The evolution of this economic regime, call it that, empowerment, freedom of money, connectivity, has tried to be controlled and suppressed. When we first launched Moneybrain, everybody said this internet thing would never happen. This is the same sort of explosion of adoption and freedom, and it's internet money. So the empowerment that the internet gave people to learn, educate, this new internet money gives people a way to live a better life and build for the future.
Who is against this and who is afraid of people having this power in their own hands? Because that's how I see it. I think this is the fight you're fighting, right? This is what you're dealing with, and who are these people you're fighting against?
Who do you think they will be?
Well, in most situations, would be the government. I think it could be a situation where, at least at some point, I thought it would be banks, because banks would kind of suffer, things that, transfers that before used to take, or even these days, used to take hours or days, that can be done in seconds or a split of a second without their involvement. Although, from what I could see, they bought quite a lot of crypto themselves. So that it's not like they're a non-believer or that's a backup for them. I don't really know how it works. But I think the government will be the first block. But I can see some private sector being also against it. But obviously those have power, sometimes power over government too. So I don't know too much details, but maybe you can go just a bit deeper into it.
I think you're along the right path. People who try to block it have natural self-interest, and the disruption is happening today for those who want to keep it the way it's been for 100 years. Control the gold, control the people, control the economic roadmap. And you can include banks in that. You can include central banks in that. And certainly you can control via governmental intervention of people's power of the money in their pockets.
But do you think that as more people will adopt this, and hopefully even with what we do today, almost like educating with your experience, do you think more people getting into this will force government's hand or will make a positive change in this space?
You only have to look at what's going on in America. There was a risk that the dollar was going to be overturned as the world's global currency. And probably the brightest minds and engineers are in the USA. The biggest inventions.
There's a lot of innovation there, yeah.
They think of Apple, think of Google, think of Amazon. I think what's happened is the horse has already bolted. The digital horse is out there going wild, and unless you're in the race with a horse, you're pretty much out of the game.
But do you think Europe it's in a disadvantage, obviously created by itself, and Europe obviously including Jersey here, or going bigger than just the European Union? Do you think because of the regulation we are 10 steps behind, or what's actually holding us back? Is it the belief that we don't have the belief, and I'm talking like at the government level, is it that we don't have the belief that this can benefit a country or the whole European continent?
I think, going back to your question earlier about the people who are going to be disrupted by this, it's the economic impact. And Europe, of a combination particularly of 27 countries, is it now?
Possibly, yeah. I can't remember exactly.
Each country's different. There was an intent that everybody would come together as one, but there's infighting. So you've not got a cohesive group of people in Europe. So it was basically to try and adopt it's called the MiCA regime, was to try and keep everybody happy, and it's kept nobody happy. The UK, post-Brexit, we want to be a sovereign nation again. So they weren't thinking about the future, they've been thinking about the past. So America have always thought about the future. So you've got a broken state in Europe, a broken country in Britain, and a thriving country in the United States of America. So who do you think is going to be the winner?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy at this point. It's easy to see the winner. But do you think Trump flipped the page? Flip everything on his head when with his presidency? Because till that point, I might be wrong. I mean, look, it's not really my space. You'll know more. But do you think he fundamentally changed the way he wants the government to look at cryptocurrencies and everything that's blockchain related?
Yeah, if we look at what Donald Trump is, he's a businessman. He's a businessman. He wants America to be great again. I'm not a fan of Trump or his politics, but the one thing that America does do is get things right. And the country, whether we support it or not, voted him in. And he's delivering, and boy, is he delivering. And I took a back step because we're in America. We've been registered in America to launch for 7 years now. But the regulatory and legal threats of us delivering our services there was such that we never did a 1 cent of trade. But I did think if 10% of it comes off and he can make that global transformation to adopt digital currency, adopt stablecoins, tokenize the New York Stock Exchange so everybody in the world can own a piece of Apple or a piece of Google, boy, would that be transformational, and boy, has he done it.
Yeah, I think the problem with Trump, we're not going to get too deep, obviously, into politics, but the way I see it, he's quite unpredictable. Like, he will say something today, and then he might change. Like, I think business needs predictability to a degree. Although it's a new space, I think he still needs some sort of like understanding that, well, if you say something now, then hopefully, we'll have the same agreement tomorrow. So I think that's where sometimes he's lacking. But in terms of innovation, he's trying quite a few things now. He's trying all sorts.
I'd actually disagree with you there. What's the point of dragging something out if it's not working? So the ability to pivot comes from his business.
Oh, so do you think that this is just the speed of seeing if it works, it doesn't, change back?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Let's not fuck around here. That's what this is. If it's not working, pivot, change. Let's make it work. And I think in Europe and in the United Kingdom, let's wait for a year. Let's wait for 2 years. Then we'll have another consultation.
I think I'm still indoctrinated into the old ways of doing, you see?
Yeah.
Because, with government, you feel like, oh, yeah, we'll just drag this till the end and then we'll just park it. So I think, yeah, you see, this is what's happening. I'm not on the innovator side.
And to be fair, governments, United Kingdom and Jersey, are pretty aligned in that passive, lethargic, non-productive form of government. And being able to do things on the fly, do something impactful, is the government of the future. So if you're not operating at the pace of broadband, of blockchain, you're just going to get left behind.
But I know we started almost like in the middle of the conversation. Let's go back and talk about what is actually blockchain, because not everybody will understand this. It's still a new term for most people. And if you ask me, I don't know what's the best how to explain it properly. But what's your vision? Like, how, if someone asks, like, what is blockchain? And then we'll get into the benefits, how would this benefit the regular person on the street? So what's blockchain?
It's like being on the safest railway track ever. It's like flying Qantas. Never had an accident. It's like having art that can never be copied. It's like having a bank account that'll never be blocked. It's been able to give your kids 25 quid when you're in the USA and they're in Thailand, and it gets them within a second. It's security and it's trust. And I think those things are lacking in this world: security and trust. And the blockchain is that. And from a technical explanation, I think I always liken it to a spreadsheet. You've got an entry that you start with, and everybody knows that you don't want to make a mistake. Well, that entry, you can't make a mistake on that entry. You know, you have £1,000, $1,000, €1,000 at the end, and that's warranted, validated, and can't be copied or messed around with. And then if you want to open another tab and another column and move it from one to the other, everybody in the world can see that you're moving that value from that column or wallet for the blockchain to another tab. And that can never be fucked around with. It's safe, it's secure. And everybody in the world can see that movement from one Excel spreadsheet column to another, and you can trust it. And so when somebody says, have you got $1,000? You can say, yeah, it's there. And I got it from there.
Yeah, because at this point, for these kind of situations, we're relying on banks to track transactions, I guess.
Well, the banks, when you give them $1,000 on one column, they actually create 20 more columns. They take your $1,000 and magic money print.
Yeah, they create
$20,000.
money. The banks create money, actually.
So the blockchain has only got $1,000 to $1,000. The fractional banking system print 20 other columns. So your thousands suddenly getting, every time they print a column, your thousands getting less and less value. It's like diluting gold to end up being in lead.
Yeah. Do you think this is also a way of not eradicating, because probably that's a lot saying, but inflation, for example, 2008 financial crisis, because it's what you see is what you get. It's not, you're not pumping it, you're not putting on steroids, appearing, that's something more than it is. As you said, it's 1,000, well, that's 1,000, it's no more than that and not less. Do you think this is also a way of helping in that area?
Yeah, because with the blockchain economy and internet money, there is no magic money printing. You can't print money out of thin air.
But the government likes doing that.
Well, of course they do, but we're in the position now where they can't afford to pay anybody back. The USA, I think, owe 30 trillion. The amount of money that's owed in government debt around the world is phenomenal. And we're at the stage now, and it's called Bretton Woods 3.0. So do you want me to explain?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, let's get into that.
So post the Second World War, the global economy was bust. Everybody owed everybody. The less affluent countries of the world didn't have any money to settle the bills. So everybody owed the US government a fortune. And so there became an economic reset. And Bretton Woods is a place where everybody came together to write everybody's debt off and create a new economic order. That's happening now. It's just not called Bretton Woods. So the resetting of the global economic order is happening today, and it's happening on blockchain.
Yeah, that's quite a statement. For those new to digital currencies, which there will be quite a few people probably watching this video, could you explain in simple terms what Moneybrain does and what Bips is? Because these are your babies, basically. Yeah. And I would like to know more about how the role you play basically on this in this industry.
Sure. I mean, I suppose we could say Moneybrain is your trusted gateway to this new economy. So Moneybrain was the pioneer of the internet for financial services in the UK. We're the first online financial advisor. And when you used to get a ticket to go from one side of the United Kingdom to the other, you got to paid a horseman, and you paid a toll, and you travelled in carriages. And then the train came along, and then you had to buy a ticket for the train. Moneybrain is the ticket office for this new wonderful internet money.
Beautifully articulated. But how do you see, like, moving to Jersey? What's the opportunity here for Jersey? Because obviously what you do is unique, especially in Jersey. Not talking about UK now, let's focus a bit on Jersey. What's the opportunity for Jersey in this situation? How is the state? Because I guess it needs to be going higher than, you know, just the private sector. How the state should play this, you know, in order to have an impact.
I think we go back to when we started at the beginning about the slow pace. Sometimes it's better to start afresh. So Europe have tried to do something. UK have tried to do something. Because Jersey's done nothing, it's able to write the rule book, and it's able to see and capitalize from other areas' mistakes. So where the UK had no idea about this new economy, Jersey were interested, and they were interested because for the last 40 years, they created this wonderful thing called a trust, which is like an innovative piece of, it's a bit like technology, but it's an innovative piece of legislation and an innovative piece of economic tool that was being used. And a lot of wealth flows through Jersey. So there was interest in what we were doing. And because the first ever Bitcoin fund actually was done in Jersey further down this road, the guys at CoinShares were one of the first to do a listed Bitcoin bond, there was a curiosity, but also there was a fear. Because Jersey's a tiny island that's reliant on the United Kingdom, it needed a USP. It needed something to become relevant and remain relevant. And I think because they hadn't introduced legislation and they had an open book, we were able to engage with certain stakeholders to discuss the opportunity, to discuss the security that this could bring to Jersey and the opportunity it could bring to Jersey. And every day since then, there's been vindication of why they wanted Moneybrain and myself to bring those ambitious opportunities to Jersey to give it the opportunity to survive in the new world.
But do you think, you mentioned the trust companies, obviously Jersey thrives arguably with the help of this mechanism, let's put it this way. Do you think this would be the first industry impacted positively by what Moneybrain wants to do? Or what are other industry with almost immediate impact, positive impact?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because it's an uncomfortable realization. When you combine what we're doing with artificial intelligence, it's turbocharging change. It's turbocharging productivity. It's turbocharging connectivity. And it's raising standards of talent and operational competence. So if you think about the ability to float quicker, and if you're all in the same harbour, people can float with you, or they could be anchored to the past. And if they're anchored to the past, they're going to go under. because those tides are rising.
Yeah. But what's the long? I know we probably is something that is usually covered towards the end, but I feel like it's the right moment because this is a different kind of conversation. Everything is kind of new. It's volatile. It changes a lot. I think you're in a very dynamic world. And what do you see the future? How do you see the future of Moneybrain playing in Jersey or maybe outside of Jersey? Since you mentioned the US, who knows? Maybe the UK wakes up and they are in a better relationship with blockchain. Hopefully they will be. How do you see this?
I think with Moneybrain, we're already plugged into the new world. To operate in the new world, you need internet money. We've launched the first digital pound in the world, or the first internet pound in the world, if you like, here in Jersey. And we've been spending it. We've been testing it. We've paid for the rent with it. We're paying staff with it. We're sending it overseas. We're exchanging it for the United States internet dollar.
So it works.
It works. It's phenomenal. There's no friction. It costs you a penny to spend it. You can send $1 million equivalent for a penny, and it gets there in less than a second.
From the point of view of regulation, obviously, if let's say I want to open my own trust here in Jersey, everything is black and white. We all know what the process is. But with what you do, I feel like you probably had a lot of hurdles, till you got to the point where we are fully compliant now. We can do our business. How was that process here in Jersey? Because I can feel them scratching their head, being like, oh, we're not sure. Maybe we need to work with you on this to understand it better. Or
we've been doing this it's moving too fast business for 25 years. I keep getting criticized, it's moving too fast. I said, no. This started in 1999. Hello? I've aged considerably since this peer-to-peer economy launched, since this internet money launched. Internet money didn't start with Bitcoin. It started in 1990. E-cash. Mervyn King, the Bank of England governor in 1999, said he could see a day when the central banks would no longer be needed to settle global trade. Guess what? That's what's happening now, today. And I wrote a paper on BIPs on that, quoting Mr. King. And you need a currency to settle in global trade. And that's what BIPs is. An inflation-beating currency that the world can trade in, that's backed by real-world assets, that's trusted on the blockchain.
Yeah. But for people that, because, obviously you mentioned seeing this coming or working on this since 1999. But most of us, we see this as the Bitcoin innovation. So it's something fairly recent.
Yeah.
For people that are skeptical about investing, about being part of this, whether for security reasons, which I think, this is, as you mentioned, it's one of the most secure ways to transaction, but also for the complexity. What's your advice? Because obviously, in order for this to work, you need the regular person, not just the government, to be part of this journey. So how do you tackle this?
If we take it back to the spreadsheet analogy with the blockchain earlier, if I give you one Cougarand and I hand it to you, I want it, you want it, we can see it, yeah? That there's trust, you bite it, you can do tests on it, and it's a Cougarand and it has a value, and we can send it manually from one to the other. You can't trust your bank. When you give them one Cougarand, they magic another 20 Cougarands. What do you think's happened to the value of that Cougarand then within that bank? It's only worth a 20th.
Yeah, it devalues.
Now, devalues.
Yeah.
That's what fiat is. That's what your dollar is, your pound is, and your euro is. It devalues every day. There hasn't been a surplus in there. If you treat, the best way I can explain it is, Jersey's an economy. It's a business. United Kingdom is economy. It's a business. United States and Europe. Okay? If they were a business, they will be bust. They owe more than they can settle tomorrow. That's why they have to borrow money every year. They print. And that's the Cougar Rand being diluted to 20. Your dollar is being diluted to 20. Its buying power in the last 10 years has devalued by 50%.
It's like, the saying, kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, but you're kicking it down the road. And the problem is, you kick a tin can down the road enough times, what does it do? It breaks.
It hits you in the head.
It disintegrates.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening in the global economy at the moment. The level of debt is unsustainable. So the economic reset is happening. And the brightest brains in the world have discovered that the easiest way to fix this is with new internet money. And that's what digital currency is, because it'll be settled immediately. You know that the ledger is one-to-one. So like in El Salvador, you don't have to check if El Salvador's got 100 Cougar Rands or 100 Bitcoins, because you can see it. So the economy is transparent. Do you trust Britain to say how many Cougar Rands they have? I think Elon Musk said, I want to go into Fort Knox and see the gold because I don't believe it. Maybe that's why he's not there anymore, because he insisted I wanted to see the gold.
Like you touched at the beginning, in like early days of how currency worked. If I remember well, it was at the time when, the gold was the standard. So then,
your dollar was backed by a gold.
But then, they said there's so much gold there. They kept backing and backing and backing. They're like, well, we want to kind of like see what's going on. We want actually our gold back, tangible. And then is when everything crashed, right? I think that's how it was at the time.
The reason things crash is because you say, I need to see your gold.
And they all wanted to see their gold at the same time.
That's what a bank collapse is.
Yeah.
That's what a run on a bank is. I've given you $1,000. I want my $1,000 back. Well, I haven't got it because I've actually lent that 1,000. In fact, not only have they lent the 1,000, I've actually borrowed another 19,000 myself from the central bank.
So if you're asking for 1,000, I'm in trouble. And if many people do the same thing, obviously there is no.
Why do you think you can't withdraw cash?
Well, it's funny you say this, because a while back in Romania, and it wasn't a huge sum. I can't remember. Was it like, I'm talking 1,000, 2,000 euros or something like that. Went to the bank and we were like, I want my money. And they keep trying, to kind of convince you, get into a different account, savings and all that. I'm like, no, I don't want any of that. I just want my money. There is a reason for it. I'm not going to get into details. I want my money. And they were like, well, yeah, fill these forms and everything else. I'm like, it's my money. Like, why do I need to go through all this pain? It's not like I'm borrowing it from you, but it felt like it. And they were like, well, come tomorrow or in like 2 days, because we don't hold the cash here. I'm like, weird. It wasn't a huge amount.
I'll give you the first time I realised it was all a bit of a Ponzi scheme. I worked at NatWest Bank for my first job when I was 16. And I was on the till, and people used to bring their checks in and take cash out. And I'd, at the end of the day, count the cash, write it in a ledger, which is now the blockchain equivalent. Yeah, so it was a ledger, and then it was pen and paper, and we'd write down everything at the end of the day. And this was 1988, so that is 37 years ago. And then at the end of the day, I'd literally roll my trolley out from the counter, roll it into the safe. There were 3 of us. Then another person would write down the ledger, and we'd have the money in the vault for the end of the day, and that was your daily ledger. And then somebody came in for a mortgage. And I was learning at the time, and I said, can I sit in with you? The bank manager, because I used to take the bank manager his tea every morning on a tray with a biscuit and That was my job. I'd clean the leaves. I'd do the brasses. That was my history. That's what you did in those days. You did the crappy jobs. So anyway, I got, I can listen into this. And then they came in and somebody wanted a mortgage. I think it was for about £60,000. And I'm sat there thinking, I've done the daily ledger. We haven't got £60,000. He's going to have to say no. And when he said yes to this young family buying a home, I went, I'm going to have to ask the question.
That's when it clicked. It was like, there's something
we haven't
wrong.
got £60,000. I think we had 12. I think we had £12,000 in the bank vault. I'm thinking, how on earth is he going to give people that money to buy that house? And he said, Lee, that's why you need to take your Chartered Institute of Banking exams. And so I went and did the night college. And within 6 months, I realised and finished and left the bank. Because within 6 months, I realised that actually it was just a scheme of money magic, money creativity, creating money from nothing. And it's then I thought, I can't, that's going to end. And that was 37 years ago. And here we are today.
Well, in the end, taking that tray and biscuits, was well worth it because you learn your lesson eventually.
Yeah, and through the credit crunch, I've been through 2 recessions.
You've seen a lot.
Yeah.
But I can see this, so we're talking about a big disruption here. And in a way, I can see why there are people obviously paid a lot of money to keep it the way it is.
Yeah.
So I can see that you're having a lot of feathers,
yeah.
Or the whole blockchain community is doing that. It's a tough fight. It looks like it's a tough fight because obviously these people, they want to keep their old way of doing it. Some of them, they might be non-believers, but there is also like, well, it's been working like this for a long period of time. I'm doing okay, keeping it the same way. Why should we change? What's next in terms of this fight, and where are we heading?
I walked up to the fort with my wife a couple of weeks ago. Could never work out how to get up there in Jersey, and it was quite an impressive vista of seeing how Jersey used to defend itself. You could see all the towers. And it's normally in war times where you have the best innovation. Think of the Spitfire. Think of the Lancaster bomber. Think of the Indians with the bow and arrows.
I mean, look at the Ukrainians, they're developing all these drones. They have no choice just to innovate.
If I put it in simple terms, at the moment, Jersey and the United Kingdom are fighting an economy with bow and arrows, when America have got guns. So the old economy are fighting their economic challenges with bow and arrows, and other economies are fighting with guns. There's only going to be one winner.
How is China playing this card? Because obviously they will, or they are already planning something, but it's a different world, you see, like that.
No, it's exactly the same. They just copy the guns and make them quicker.
Okay, that's what they usually do. But it's also like, I feel like if China adopts this fully, and the government doesn't have that much power, there is everything, it's about government power. I think it's a different environment almost there. So they need to, can they adapt it to work in their old ways of like ruling the country? Is that something that they will do? Because I feel like copying exactly the same playbook like the US might not work. They need to add certain measures in place to make sure the regime stays in power. Because everything comes from the top there. Everything comes from them. It's not like, oh yeah, I'm going in China and innovate with this new company, that I've got. Well, sooner or later, you'll probably figure out. Not that I've experienced this myself, but listening to other people talking about it, you'll experience, if you get big enough, that the government has actually quite a lot to say.
Well, I think I'll try and, well, one, I need to make it clear I'm not an economist. Two,
oh, this is not financial advice. Yeah, absolutely.
This is not financial advice.
Absolutely.
And three, if anybody wants to get involved with what they're doing, their capital is at risk. So let's get those three things out of the way.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'll make sure that people understand.
Before we go into it, the tariffs. Okay? The tariffs are America copying China. So, China have already succeeded. Their 50-year plan is victorious. America need the ability to devalue the dollar today. Not like the UK, 2 years, 4 years, 5 years. They want American goods to be cheap for the world today.
To export,
yeah?
Basically.
So, no dicking around for consultation for a year. Oh, we've got Parliament coming through next year. We've got a change of election. Bullshit. They need it today. So they've actually got a situation where they have devalued the dollar. They have made their products more appealing on the world stage and made other countries' products unattractive for American citizens to buy. Their new economy is based on the blockchain and an internet dollar, not fractional reserve dollar. With a US dollar stablecoin, we deal directly with the government. We don't deal with a bank doing magic money tree banking, fractional reserve banking. Fractional reserve banking is going to struggle. It's not going to be dead, but it's going to struggle when you've got a shop in a window that's got a bow and arrow for sale next to a gun. And you don't have to be Einstein to decide what product you want to buy, what currency you want to live in.
So if, let's say, we don't do anything in Europe, in the UK, or we do very little, like you say, we keep sharpening our arrows and that's all we do. That's how we innovate, like, oh, we're going to make it a bit more pointy, this is going to bring a lot of damage. And, they already getting to laser guns. What's going to happen to Europe? Are we going to adopt the US currency? How do you think this is going to play? Because for me, it's a bit of an unknown. If this doesn't work in Europe, what do we do to still, I don't know, make payments? Are we still going to continue with our cash? I think eventually we still need to move somehow. Are we going to adopt, and the US will be like the US stablecoin will be like the global currency? Is that what you think it will happen?
I think it already is. So there's 200 sovereign currencies, 200 countries that have signed up to global exchange of one to another. There's realistically only 20 in the world. So the G20, you've got your euros, your dollars, your yen, your Swiss, Everybody in all the other countries, what currency do you think they want?
Oh, yeah. They'll want the Western.
Yeah. They don't want their local Naira or their Turkish lira even, Turkey.
Well, yeah, that's devalued big time, the Turkish
because their economic policies, Turkey are working with bow and arrows. Yeah. At the moment, Jersey, the United Kingdom and Europe are working with bow and arrows for an economy. So we're in this situation where we need to do a deal. America own the guns. We've got to do a deal to get the guns.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happening. There's an economic deal being done. Because sovereignty's sacrosanct. You still need your own independence. And your currency is probably the biggest flag of your independence. For many countries, they should just adopt the dollar because it'll make their economy stronger. It gives their currency purpose. Because most currencies are pegged to the dollar in a certain way. In Jersey, 65% of the economy is dollars.
All right.
Yeah, so 60% of the cash in Jersey is held in dollars.
Oh, wow.
So Jersey's probably has more choices than the United Kingdom because it already operates in dollars. It's just nobody talks about it.
But what will happen, that's something that I'm quite intrigued. So if, let's say, the US, because now the way it works, let's say the US economy is doing bad, or they want to devalue the dollar willingly. How will happen with the stable coin? Can they still play that book? Or if, let's say, a country is not doing that great, does it mean that the currency itself will get devalued? Will it work the same, basically? How will
Yeah, I think this is what's problematic. And again, we don't want to go too deep into economics. Everybody knows, in fact, this is a real relative to Jersey. Jersey's paying more on its mortgages and its credit now, and will continue to do so because it's fighting its economy with bow and arrows. If you've got the guns, you can borrow cheaply because people want your economy. So the cost of US debt is going to go down, 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 because it's just going to do a deal on all its guns everywhere. Yeah. So they have all the cards, all the guns, but more importantly, they have the bullets in Apple, in 90% of the satellites being in the sky. And you need that. They've got their own global armor plating of their economy now because everything has to be done on the internet. So that, China were building theirs, and that's what Huawei was withdrawn from the United Kingdom, because China were building their own satellites in the sky.
And they were moving fast.
And they were moving fast. And so you've got this situation now where the pieces are on the board. China had the queen that was taking America's queen. And, we're slowly getting the other end of the chessboard now. And, America is going all in for checkmate.
Is it too late? I think this is the question, because we see China moving fast, we see the US moving fast, and we are still stagnant or moving backwards. Is it too late for us to action and to still be on that stage?
No, because we're doing a deal. Yeah? That deal is being done now. It's called trade deals. Yeah, it's called tariffs. You don't want to be fighting a war on your own. You want the biggest dog in the room. And Trump basically said, I'm leaving this fight. And everyone said, please don't leave the fight. Please come back in. Deals are done. They're being done. And guess who's the first to do a deal saying, please, Mr. Trump, please let's do a deal? United Kingdom. And that's why that deal's been done.
Do you think the United Kingdom has a weaker card because it's not part of European Union anymore? Although European Union feels like sometimes it's not really that united.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get political again, but I was devastated with Brexit. My family loved the ability to move around Europe. We were proud to be part of the European community, and our economy has collapsed since Brexit. Emphasised with coronavirus and other elements, but you watch Bloomberg, you speak to any world leader, sterling always used to be at the table. There's 6, 7 other currencies. Nobody mentions the pound anymore. It's irrelevant.
It's right at the bottom of the list.
Right, yeah. The education, poor. The economy, hanging on. The leadership, questionable. The talent, leaving. They've got a tough rebuild. They're trying, and I will support them in trying, but it's becoming a little desperate.
And I think it's here where Jersey suffers, because if, let's say, it's a weak leadership in the UK, that means Jersey following a lot of what UK does. Yeah, I could see, even if, let's say, it's a weak, almost like a weak war Jersey will always have against the UK in whatever situation, it will be tough to be an innovator if the UK is going backwards.
Jersey's an emphasised UK economy. When the UK is doing good, Jersey does great. When the UK is doing poor, Jersey is emphasised. Jersey's probably in recession. Just nobody will dare say it.
Oh yeah. I mean, we kind of like went through some struggles. I mean, across the world, I think, for the past 2 years or so, it was just if you admit it, then it freaks out people, I guess, and it turns into something else. But going back to the blockchain, and I want to talk a bit about tokenization and what this does in simple terms for people on the street. How does this work, and how can we benefit from it?
Sure. I mean, tokenization, and again, we'll try and keep it in layman's terms, is like going from the postal service of sending a letter to sending that letter via the internet, immediate settlement. Yeah. At the moment, the London Stock Exchange works 8 till 4, 5 days a week. You can only
trade within that time.
Trade within that time. We're a global economy. It's always 5 o'clock somewhere. Yeah. So the situation at the moment is, with the blockchain, you can trade 24/7, 365. And that's what people want. You lose money currently within those hours of trade that you don't know. Because
the market is waiting till the opening.
Donald Trump says something, the markets go up and down. If you can't trade out of that position or even buy in to that position, you're out of the game. Tokenization brings the whole of the New York Stock Exchange to everybody 24/7, 365. London Stock Exchange, not really interested. We'll look at it in over a 5-year period. They're out of the game. People ask me, why is nobody bothering about the London Stock Exchange? They hate the word tokenization. They hate the word crypto. They hate the word the blockchain. You have to look at the Bank of England governor last week. He couldn't even speak. There's only one type of money, he said, and that's money for issue by a central bank. Well, if I can buy a car, I can pay my children, I can pay for a flight. That's a type of money, I think you'd agree. And I'd rather have that money back 1 for 1, buy a Cougarand from one to a Cougarand, or from one US Treasury dollar to one US Treasury dollar, than what he perceives as the better money that's leveraged 20 times with a fractional reserve bank. Give me a break. They're becoming embarrassing now on the way they're explaining how great the British pound is. I think he needs to have a rewrite on history.
If now it's great, how was like years back then? Yeah. I can see a lot of warm seats there, that don't wanna move, because obviously they're doing well, going back to disrupting, certain areas like the stock exchange, because obviously if this gets revolutionized, we might not need that many people.
It's happened. It's not going to be. It's happening. Now, I think this is what people,
whether they admit it or not, is happening.
Well, I think this is the problem. The silencing of what's actually happening today is like wartime. It's like suppression of information and communication. This tokenization world is happening now. It's not something, Star Trek magic beans that's going to be in 5 or 10 years. It's exploding now. There's more people opening digital wallets around the world than when people adopted the internet. It's near mirroring. In fact, it's overtaking because people want that better money. They want the one cougar and economy. They don't want their economy to be fighting with bows and arrows. And with a mobile phone, you can click which store you want to go into, which economy you want to live in. And people trying to deny their citizens access to that are fighting a losing game.
And I think it's almost like, with the AI, there are people against it. And I'm like, whether you're against it or not, it's here to stay. So whether you'll adopt it or not, if, this will change your life. It can, if you go with the flow and, you learn, you are informed, you will thrive. If not, you will go the other way.
It's a very akin, I just came up in my head then with an analogy of the people who, not even in the internet age, and I love the Jersey Evening Post, by the way. Great shout out to the Jersey Evening Post who give us a weekly crypto corner to educate. So I just wish the UK press wouldn't suppress.
Be a bit more open.
Well, no, they won't talk about Bitcoin. They won't talk about the blockchain. The permanent negativity. It's horrific. So big up to Jersey Evening Post. The situation at the moment is you've got, and it's a generational thing. It is a generational thing, but some people still like to have their daily newspaper delivered. They don't watch the telly, sometimes listen to the radio, but they like for their newspaper to be delivered. Jersey's got an even additional problem. Their news can be a couple of days behind, So then the internet came along and it was a case of it's immediate. I don't want to know what's going on within the last hour or two. I want to know tomorrow. What would you rather do?
Yeah, live the moment, but also know about what's happening. What will almost like predict part of the future and understand.
Look at the empowerment the internet gave to people.
Oh yeah, absolutely, it's huge.
AI.
It's obviously a tool.
It's just AI is just a robot-powered internet. It's 100x. It's 1,000x. In fact, it's probably 1,000,000x.
Do you think this is a good combo now that blockchain and AI now are growing together?
100%. That is the economy. That is the future of money. Now, it's not if, again, people are still trying to hold on to the paper £1 note in Jersey, and it makes me giggle because yes, it's a token gesture of a past time. And it's not forgetting your past, but come on guys, embrace the future. Be ambitious. If you don't be ambitious, you'll still be getting your post delivered 2 days late.
But do you think this will be a situation where exactly like with cash now, you have cash, you have bank transactions, this blockchain and the digital payments will work in parallel for a while and then they will fully move, or in the future there'll still be all three ways of doing it, cash plus banks plus this?
It's an interesting one. There's still a need for cash, but I think it'll be de minimis. It'll be like a cougar hand, but they're equally de minimis now. So it'll be an emergency currency. I think it was Switzerland or Sweden who recommended that everybody just kept some cash under the bed, just in case. I think you need to be aware that, and these are the facts, the current banking framework's broken. And there's been a recent report that 75% of budget goes to fix 50-year-old technology just so you can still access the bank daily. It's broken. It's dead.
Back to the arrows.
Yeah, that's the current banking system where, we've got turbocharged laser focus weapons in the blockchain. So there's an inevitability, and it's not a case of if, it's when. And those who are doing it now will win.
Yeah, quite well said. I really enjoyed this conversation, Lee. I mean, it was like a masterclass for me. I'm quite new to this. I barely know anything about blockchain. So the questions hopefully were almost like addressed from someone from the street, because I think you are on this journey of educating as well.
Yeah.
So who knows, maybe we'll do more. We'll see how this gets received by people. But is there something we've not covered? Is there something something else you want to share? Or should we just think about where we're sending people from here? Moneybrain.com?
Yeah, go to moneybrain.com. And I think the key for people around the education is just think about your cash and your money in your bank loses value every day and has done for 25 years. If you had the choice where you had your money that beat inflation every day, where would you choose? And I think that's what BIPs gives people. It gives them there's no money printing with BIPs. There's only 500 million.
What you see is what you get.
There's only 21 million Bitcoin. What you see is what you get. They're not making any more. Land, they're not making any more. That's why we buy land. BIPs, they're not printing anymore. Bitcoin, the daddy, they're not making any more. So where do you think you should have your money?
Yeah, it's a great way to end this. Thank you for making time for this. It was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. Maybe we'll have other opportunities to go and touch different areas. And for people that watch this or listen to this, depending on which platforms they will be, I guess leave some comments, thoughts, or maybe what you want to see in the future, right? Thank you.
No, I've really enjoyed it. Thanks very much, and hopefully people find it educational.